Either you give me your license or we're going to break this window and get you out of this car.
On September 20th, 2021, Mississippi Highway Patrol had an unconstitutional checkpoint set up where they were stopping every single vehicle that traveled through and demanding to see driver's licenses. There are many people that argue that you don't have to have a license to travel on the road in a car, but that is not what this is about. No matter what you think about a right to travel or a privilege to drive or anything in between, we're going to look at this video today from the perspective of assuming that you must have a license to operate a car on the road and that you must obey all the rules that go along with that license. Under this assumption, police still do not have the authority to stop you without cause and demand ID. They would need some type of infraction, speeding, failure to signal, some rule of the road that you agreed you wouldn't violate when you signed for your license. Demanding that you ID simply because you're present on the highway without you committing an infraction or a crime is a blatant violation of the Fourth Amendment, which is why these checkpoints are unconstitutional. But police continue to conduct them anyways, and some courts have ruled that they're unconstitutional, but other courts have ruled that there's no constitutional violation in stopping and searching every single person on a particular highway or neighborhood just because they're there.
Yes.
Let your window down for me.
My what?
Let your window down for me. We're checking for driver's license. You roll right through the checkpoint.
What do you need to check my driver's license for?
We're doing a driver's license check, so we need to see your driver's license.
No, you don't. Can you tell me what crime I've committed?
27 to 45.
Can you tell me what crime I've committed? Did you catch me speeding?
You didn't commit a crime. We're checking for driver's
Right.
license. So
And you
didn't
can't. This
stop.
is not
You
a
went
stop and
right through the
identify state.
checkpoint.
This is not a stop and identify state.
22 to this location.
You can't check me for a driver's license if I didn't commit a crime.
Yes, ma'am.
The officer calls for backup because nobody's ever stood up for their rights before, and she doesn't even know what to do now. Backup arrives and they both beg and plead with this man to just make it easy by laying down his rights.
Hey, excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Can we see your license?
No, sir.
Can we see your license? Why are you making this harder than what it is?
Because I have constitutional rights that keep me from being harassed.
We're not harassing
You are harassing me.
License checkpoint that we was at, and you just
And that's a constitutional violation. You cannot stop and identify me unless I've committed a crime.
Man, where your license at?
Did I commit a crime?
Either you give me your license or we're gonna break this window and get you out of this car.
At this point, we've gone from looking for voluntary compliance to detaining this man and threatening to destroy his property and kidnap him. I don't understand how any honorable court could possibly rule that it's okay to detain and use violence against someone who hasn't committed a crime or even a civil infraction.
Either you give me your license or we're gonna break this window and get you out of this car.
Is that a fact? Is that a fact?
Yes.
Would you like to lose your qualified immunity?
I'm not.
You will.
Alright, stay right here.
Can I get the next 1051?
Do y'all have a supervisor available?
Yep.
Can I speak to your supervisor?
You can just show me your license, you can go on about your business. But you finna get arrested for not even want to show your license.
Really? Can you tell me what crime I committed?
What?
Can you tell me what crime I've committed?
Sir?
Can you tell me what crime I've committed?
Have you ever been through a roadblock? Do you live in Mississippi?
I do live in Mississippi, and I also know my constitutional rights.
I'm just asking you, every time you've been through a roadblock, have you done this?
Yes, I have.
And what did they do?
Not a thing.
They just let you go?
Yes, they do.
Where you went through the roadblock at?
I've been through them in Vicksburg, right outside the Natchez Trace. I've been through them in the middle of Vicksburg.
Man, you making this hard. I don't even want to go through this with you. Can I just see your license, please?
I have a license.
Just show me your license, and you can go on about your business.
But I don't understand why. What you're not understanding is I have a constitutional right not to be stopped and harassed. Thank you.
45 seconds for 1055.
The victim is released without having to show ID after about a 5-minute detainment. Legal experts certainly have conflicting views on these checkpoints. A few months ago in an interview with WLBT3 on Your Side, criminal defense attorney Vic Carmody Jr. is quoted as saying, "When an officer stops you, even in a roadblock, and their purpose, as they stated clearly, was to check and make sure you have a valid license and insurance, They have the right to do that. But the ACLU of Mississippi disagrees, saying in the same article, quote, "What you can't do is just say, we're going to set up checkpoints, but just to fight crime in general and stop people throughout the city. If you do that, you can allow police to basically put in place stop and frisk for drivers." But I would argue that this is even worse than stop and frisk, because a Terry stop at least requires reasonable articulable suspicion of a crime. Whereas what they're doing here simply requires you to exist for them to stop and search you. And Highway Patrol aren't the only police in Mississippi conducting these checkpoints. On February 18th, 2022, Jackson, Florida Police Department reported that they had made over 100 arrests already in 2022 using these checkpoints. The Mississippi Center for Justice has responded with a class action lawsuit against the department and the chief. The question I have is, how many innocent people had to be stopped and searched without probable cause to make that 100 arrests?
Either you give me your license or we're going to break this window and get you out of this car.